The rejection and rise. The message arrived on Earth's United Nations Space Command headquarters on a crisp autumn morning in 2157. Admiral Elena Reyes stood with her back straight as steel as she watched the holographic display shimmer into existence. The alien's face, a bluish, vaguely humanoid visage with 6 eyes arranged in a hexagonal pattern, regarded her with what she could only interpret as cold indifference. The Interstellar consortium has reviewed Earth's petition for membership. The alien spoke, its translation software giving it an artificially melodic voice. After thorough consideration of your technological capabilities, societal structure, and species temperament, we regret to inform you that your application has been denied. Admiral Reyes felt her jaw tighten. May I inquire as to the specific reasons? The alien blinked its 6 eyes in an unsettling sequence. Your species has been deemed excessively volatile and unpredictable. Your historical propensity for warfare, combined with your rapid technological advancement, presents an unacceptable risk factor. Furthermore, your biological composition lacks sufficient adaptation for deep space environments. So we're too aggressive and not evolved enough. Reyes summarized flatly. A simplified but accurate assessment. The consortium may reconsider Earth's application in approximately 500 standard cycles, assuming significant societal and biological evolution occurs. The alien's image flickered. We wish your species continued development within your solar system. Transmission ends. The hologram disappeared, leaving Admiral Reyes and the dozen other military and civilian leaders in stunned silence. For 80 years, humanity had worked toward this moment. First contact had occurred in 2077, and Earth had spent decades implementing suggested reforms, developing cleaner technologies, and unifying under a single planetary government, all to meet the consortium's standards. All for nothing. Secretary General Okafor was the first to speak. This changes everything. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, head of the Global Science Division, removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. They'd been stringing us along. These standards were never meant to be achieved. No, Reyes said firmly, drawing all eyes to her. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning. The first 5 years after the rejection were the most difficult. Markets crashed worldwide as corporations that had invested billions in consortium-compatible technologies saw their futures evaporate. Religious extremism surged, with some groups claiming the aliens were demons and others proclaiming them gods. Governments struggled to maintain order. But beneath the chaos, something unexpected began to emerge. Unity through defiance. They think we're too aggressive. President Alvarez of the North American Union said in a famous address, "Let's show them what human determination really looks like. They've underestimated us. That's their mistake." The Global Advancement Initiative formed in 2163, pooling resources from every nation on Earth. The mandate was simple: develop technologies that would surpass the consortiums, establish a human presence beyond the solar system, and prove humanity's worth not through subservience, but through achievement. Dr. Wei Chen led the propulsion revolution. Her team in Shanghai created the quantum displacement drive in 2172, a system that didn't just approach light speed but created controlled folds in space-time. The consortium had claimed such technology was theoretically impossible for at least another millennium. Humanity did it in 9 years. In Cairo, Dr. Amara Osi developed bioadaptive materials that could reconfigure at the molecular level to protect human bodies from the rigors of deep space and high-gravity environments. On her test flight to Neptune, she famously transmitted, "No evolutionary waiting period required, just human ingenuity." Admiral Reyes, now in her 70s but still sharp as ever, watched the first colony ship depart for Proxima Centauri in 2176. She wouldn't live to see its arrival, but she stood tall as the massive vessel rose from the Kenyan spaceport, carrying 10,000 colonists to humanity's first extrasolar home. "We're not waiting for their approval anymore," she told her granddaughter, Lieutenant Sophia Reyes. who stood beside her. "We're claiming our own destiny." The Alpha Centauri colony was established in 2181 on a world the consortium charts had labeled uninhabitable due to radiation levels. Human engineers had developed radiation-absorbing technology that not only protected the colonists but harvested the radiation for power. In 2185, Sophia Rice, now a commander, led the first expedition beyond the immediate stellar neighborhood. Her ship, the UES Defiance, was testing the limits of the third-generation quantum displacement drive when they received an unexpected signal. "It's not consortium standard," her communications officer reported, puzzled. I'm not sure what it is." "Put it through," Rice ordered. The voice that came through was unlike any alien language they'd encountered before, a series of melodic trills and deep resonant pulses. But the ship's advanced translation matrix slowly began making sense of it. Assistance, escaped, pursued. Commander Rice made a decision that would alter the course of human history. Triangulate that signal. Full speed ahead. They found the damaged ship drifting near a gas giant. It was unlike any vessel humans had designed, organic-looking, with sections that appeared to be grown rather than built. Inside were beings that resembled giant mantises, their emerald exoskeletons damaged and their compound eyes dimming. The humans brought them aboard, and their medical team worked feverishly to understand the aliens' biology enough to save them. 3 days later, the being who identified herself as Catral addressed Rice directly. "Your assistance was unexpected," she said through the translator. "The consortium told us your kind were dangerous primitives. The consortium rejected our application for membership," Rice explained. The alien made a sound that the translator couldn't process, but it seemed like laughter. "We too were deemed unworthy. The Covril are classified as excessively hive-minded and lacking individual initiative. We have been independent for 300 of your years." "There are others?" Rice asked. "Many others. The consortium accepts perhaps 1 in 50 species that achieve interstellar travel. The rest are expected to remain isolated or die out. We survive in the shadows of their empire." Commander Rice felt a smile spread across her face. "Perhaps we should meet these others." By 2200, Earth had established colonies in 12 star systems. None were perfect paradise worlds. The consortium had long ago claimed those, but humans thrived in environments that other species considered challenging. Volcanic worlds, high-gravity planets, moons with toxic atmospheres. Humanity adapted their technology to survive and then prosper. More importantly, they had formed alliances with 6 other rejected species. The Covril provided biological technologies beyond anything humans had imagined. The crystalline Voshin taught them about stellar engineering. The gaseous Mur shared their understanding of dimensional mathematics. In return, humanity offered its unique gift, boundless creativity, and a refusal to accept limitations. They called themselves the Outcast Alliance, and their territory grew steadily along the fringes of consortium space. They developed different technologies, different social structures, different ways of exploring the galaxy. The consortium took notice. "They've established a blockade around the Ta-Ceti system," reported Admiral Jackson in 2205. "That's the third resource-rich system they've suddenly claimed after we showed interest." Sophia Rice, now the supreme commander of the Alliance fleet, studied the holographic display showing consortium ships. Sleek, identical vessels arranged in perfect formation. "They're trying to contain us. They see us growing too quickly." Catral, now the Covril representative to the Alliance Council, clicked her mandibles. "This is their pattern. When rejected species show too much promise, they isolate them, cut them off from resources, and watch them wither." "That won't happen to us," Rice said firmly. "We've spent 50 years preparing for this moment. We anticipated they would try to stop us eventually." "What do you propose?" asked Voshin Elder, his crystalline body refracting light across the council chamber. Sophia Rice looked at each of the representatives in turn. "I propose we stop playing by their rules. The consortium has existed for 10,000 years because no one has challenged their authority. But they've never faced anything like us before. Species united not by conformity, but by our differences. You are suggesting conflict. The MER representative's gaseous form swirled anxiously. The consortium's military technology is far advanced. Advanced, yes, but static, Rice countered. They haven't faced real opposition in millennia. They'd grown complacent. And while they were comfortable in their superiority, we've been developing technologies they never imagined. She activated a hologram showing a new class of ship, smaller than consortium vessels, but with a distinctive asymmetrical design that incorporated elements from all Alliance species. The consortium believes that perfect uniformity is strength. We believe that diversity, of thought, of biology, of approach, is the true advantage. Their ships are all identical, their tactics predictable. Ours will be unique, adaptable, and unexpected. The council chamber fell silent as the representatives considered her words. If we back down now, Rice continued, we accept their judgment that we are unworthy. If we stand together, we prove that rejection was their greatest mistake. One by one, the representatives signaled their agreement. The next day, a fleet of Alliance ships slipped past the consortium blockade using technology that bent light around their hulls, inspired by the camouflage abilities of the Kovril. They established a mining colony on Tau Ceti's resource-rich third planet before the consortium even realized they were there. It was the first direct challenge to consortium authority in thousands of years, and it wouldn't be the last. The age of the outcasts had begun, with humanity leading the way. The revolution and victory. The consortium's response to the Tau Ceti operation was swift and predictable. A diplomatic communique arrived at Alliance headquarters on Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon that had become humanity's military command center. Your unauthorized incursion into consortium territory constitutes a violation of galactic law, the six-eyed diplomat stated. Remove your presence immediately or face consequences. Admiral Sophia Reyes, now with streaks of silver in her dark hair, smiled thinly at the hologram. We've reviewed historical star charts. The consortium claimed Tau Ceti only after our survey ships were detected there. It wasn't your territory until you feared we might want it. The aliens' six eyes blinked in their unsettling pattern. The consortium reserves the right to designate protected systems as necessary for galactic stability. How convenient, Rise replied. We're not leaving Tau Ceti. In fact, we've detected 7 other unclaimed resource-rich systems that might benefit from Alliance development. This is your final warning, the diplomat said, voice losing its melodic quality. The consortium has maintained peace for 10 millennia. We will not allow chaotic elements to disrupt the established order. The transmission ended, and Alliance Intelligence Director Kaido Nakamura stepped forward. They're mobilizing their third fleet, 18 capital ships, approximately 200 support vessels. Reyes nodded. Just as we expected. Inform all Alliance worlds to implement Aegis Protocol immediately. The consortium's attack came 3 weeks later. Their ships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, a massive gleaming armada of identical vessels arranged in a 3-dimensional grid that had intimidated countless species throughout galactic history. They found Tau Ceti apparently undefended. Scan for hidden defenses, ordered Consortium Admiral Zverik. This must be a trap. Scans show only the mining colony, Admiral, his second reported. No military installations, no fleet presence. Zverik's tentacles twitched with suspicion. The outcasts had shown unexpected capabilities before. Proceed with caution. Deploy destroyers in standard suppression pattern. As the consortium ships advanced toward the planet, sensors detected movement. Not ships, something smaller. Debris? Zverik demanded. Negative, Admiral. They appear to be satellites or drones. Thousands of them, powering up. Before Zverik could issue new orders, the drones activated. Each was barely larger than a human shuttle, but they moved with incredible speed and coordination. They didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, they projected overlapping fields that disrupted the consortium ship's quantum communication network. Suddenly, the perfectly coordinated consortium fleet was in chaos. Their ships relied on instantaneous communication to maintain their precision tactics. Without it, they reverted to pre-programmed responses that hadn't been updated in centuries. From the shadows of Tau Ceti's outer planets, Alliance vessels emerged, each unique in design, incorporating technologies from multiple species. The human ships attacked directly, their quantum displacement drives allowing them to appear and disappear from different vectors. The behavioral vessels released clouds of microscopic organisms that attached to consortium hulls and began reprogramming their systems. The crystalline ships of the Voisin refracted energy weapons back at their sources. It was over in hours. The mighty Third Fleet was in retreat, with 7 capital ships lost and dozens more damaged. "This is impossible," Zegeric transmitted to Consortium High Command. "They shouldn't have this level of technology. They're using methods we've never encountered." The response came immediately. "Return to Consortium space. All forces are being recalled for reassessment." News of the Tau Ceti victory spread rapidly across the galaxy. Other rejected species who had been surviving in isolation made contact with the Alliance. The Delvians, aquatic beings who had been deemed evolutionarily stagnant. The core, silicon-based life forms the consortium had classified as semi-sentient mineral formations. The enigmatic wraith, energy beings whose non-corporeal existence the consortium refused to recognize as true intelligence. Each brought unique perspectives and abilities. Each had suffered under consortium prejudice. Each was eager to join a coalition that valued their differences. By 2215, the Alliance had grown to include 17 species and controlled 34 star systems. Their technological development accelerated exponentially as each member contributed their unique knowledge. The humans' greatest contribution wasn't a specific technology, but rather their ability to integrate diverse ideas into cohesive new systems. The consortium responded by tightening their borders and intensifying propaganda. They described the Alliance as a chaotic confederation of defective species and warned their member worlds that contact with Alliance representatives was forbidden. But information couldn't be completely contained. Stories of the Alliance's successes reached consortium worlds, particularly those whose species had only recently been admitted and still chafed under the strict conformity requirements. Sophia Rice, now in her 60s and serving as the Alliance's human representative, received a covert transmission from a consortium world in 2218. "This is Representative Tlaxon of the Vrel," the message began. The Vrel were insectoid beings who had been admitted to the consortium only a century earlier. "We seek information about conditions within the Alliance. Rumors claim you allow cultural autonomy and technological innovation without restriction. Is this true?" It was the first crack in the consortium's facade, and Reyes responded carefully. "We believe diversity is strength. Each Alliance member maintains their cultural identity while contributing to our shared advancement. We don't demand conformity. We celebrate difference." Over the next 3 years, representatives from 6 consortium species made similar inquiries. 2, the Vrel and the avian Quaros, eventually defected, bringing valuable intelligence about consortium defenses. The consortium could no longer ignore the threat. In 2222, they launched a massive offensive against Epsilon Eridani, the Alliance's primary shipbuilding system. The Battle of Epsilon Eridani should have been the end of the Alliance. The consortium committed half their total military force, over 300 capital ships and thousands of support vessels. Their plan was simple: crush the Alliance's production capability and then systematically retake all territories claimed by the chaotic elements. Alliance intelligence had anticipated the attack. When the consortium armada arrived, they found Epsilon Eridani shipyards apparently abandoned, with partially constructed vessels left floating in space. They fled, Consortium Grand Admiral Zev Kor announced to his command staff, "Begin securing the facilities. We'll repurpose them for our own use." As consortium forces spread throughout the system, Alliance ships appeared, not in Epsilon Eridani, but in the heart of consortium space, using coordinates provided by their defectors and revolutionary new stealth technology developed by the Wraith. A joint task force led by Admiral Kaido Nakamura materialized near the consortium's central administrative world, Axiom Prime. "This is Admiral Nakamura of the Alliance fleet," he transmitted on all consortium frequencies. "We have no desire to attack civilian targets. Our weapons are trained exclusively on military installations. We demand direct communication with the consortium assembly." For the first time in its 10,000-year history, the consortium faced an enemy within striking distance of its government center. The psychological impact was devastating. Species that had been told the consortium was invincible suddenly saw proof otherwise. In Epsilon Eridani, the consortium forces found themselves under attack by what appeared to be the abandoned shipyard structures themselves. Human engineers had developed technology that allowed entire stations to mobilize, transforming from production facilities to massive combat platforms. The Kovril had integrated their biological technology, making the stations capable of self-repair. The consortium fleet, divided between Epsilon Eridani and racing back to defend Axiom Prime, lost their perfect coordination. Individual ship commanders made decisions based on limited information, sometimes contradicting central command. "They're not used to thinking for themselves," Sophia Reyes observed as she monitored the battle from Alliance headquarters. "Their strength was always in perfect unity. When that breaks down, they don't know how to adapt." The Battle of Epsilon Eridani lasted 17 days. When it ended, the consortium had lost nearly 40% of its military capability. More importantly, they had lost their aura of invincibility. The negotiations began 3 months later on a neutral space station constructed specifically for the purpose. The consortium assembly, the first time all 123 member species had gathered in one location, faced representatives from the 24 Alliance species. "We are prepared to recognize the Alliance as a separate political entity," the consortium speaker announced. "We propose a division of galactic territories and non-interference agreement." Sophia Reyes, chosen as the Alliance's chief negotiator, shook her head. "That's not enough. For millennia, you've judged other species, determining who is worthy of participation in galactic society and who should be isolated. That system ends today." She activated a holographic display showing a new proposed structure, a galactic council where membership was open to any spacefaring species, regardless of biology, culture, or history. "The era of the consortium's unilateral authority is over," Rice continued. "We propose a truly inclusive galactic community where differences are valued rather than suppressed." The negotiations continued for months. The consortium representatives fought to maintain as much of their power as possible, while Alliance negotiators pushed for fundamental reform. The turning point came when 7 consortium species formally requested to join the Alliance instead. In the end, the Treaty of Axiom Prime dissolved the Interstellar Consortium and established the Galactic Confederation, a new political structure where all spacefaring species had equal standing. Former consortium worlds were free to maintain their traditional cultures, but could no longer impose them on others. The former alliance became known as the United Systems, recognized for their leadership role in creating a more equitable galactic order. In 2230, 93-year-old Sophia Reyes stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, watching representatives from 160 species gather for the first assembly of the Galactic Confederation. Her granddaughter, Captain Elisa Reyes, stood beside her. "Grandmother," Elisa said quietly, "they're asking for you to address the assembly." Sophia smiled. "I'm an old woman now. Let the younger generation take the lead. They insist. You were there at the beginning. They want to hear from the human who helped change the galaxy." With a sigh that was half exasperation and half pride, Sophia allowed her granddaughter to escort her to the central chamber. As she entered, representatives from across the galaxy, beings of every imaginable form and biology, rose in respect. When she reached the central podium, she looked out at the assembled delegates. So many different forms of life, each with their own unique perspective and gifts. 73 years ago, she began, her voice still strong despite her age. Earth received a message of rejection. We were deemed unworthy of joining galactic society. That rejection was the greatest gift we could have received. Murmurs ran through the assembly. It taught us that worth isn't determined by conformity to someone else's standards. It showed us that there are many paths to advancement, not just one. Most importantly, it led us to all of you, species who were told they didn't belong, that they were somehow defective or unworthy. She gestured at the vast chamber. Look at what we've built together. Not an empire where one vision dominates, but a confederation where each contributes their unique strengths. The old consortium failed to understand a fundamental truth that humans learned early in our history. Unity doesn't require uniformity. Sophia looked toward her granddaughter, standing tall in her captain's uniform. The galaxy's future will be shaped not by those who fear difference, but by those who embrace it, not by those who seek power over others, but by those who empower each other. This is humanity's gift to the stars, not our technology or our military strength, but our belief that diversity is the universe's greatest resource. As she concluded her speech, the chamber erupted in the sounds of 100 different species showing their approval. Clicks, rumbles, flashes of light, telepathic waves of emotion. Sophia Reyes, once a young lieutenant who had witnessed humanity's rejection, now stood at the center of a new galactic order that humanity had helped create. The message was clear. Rejection had only been the beginning of their story.